Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, January 12th, 2026. If you were here last week, I apologize for stepping away early in the session. I was not feeling well. I know a lot of you were telling me to quit because, you could tell I wasn't feeling well. I thought I was coming down with some sort of flu or sickness or something. I was getting sweaty. I was getting very uncomfortable, had headache and eye pain, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. So I bailed. I only did like 20, 25 minutes or something like that. That night I went in the house. I stayed awake until about 8:30, and that was it. I went to bed. I was not feeling good at all. Went to bed, and I slept for about 11 hours. 11 hours. Now, normally for me, that obviously I'm not going to sleep that long. I usually go to bed about 11 o'clock, and I'm starting to wake up at 6 o'clock, 6:30, maybe 7, and I get up and I go. I don't sit still and wait. I get moving. But that night, I don't know what was going on. I really did. You could tell I was feeling really, really bad. So the next day, I don't know. I don't know if I had something I ate. I really don't know. But I felt better. I wasn't 100% on Tuesday, but I was definitely improved over the night before. And then by Wednesday and Thursday, I was feeling pretty good and out here, fighting with the TCI parts. So I'm sure you saw the last video, and I haven't seen any comments from TCI just yet. Now, one of the videos, they commented that they saw my measurements and they were like, this isn't what it's supposed to be. Call the tech department, let us help you out, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. They want to have you call the tech department to help resolve these problems. What they really don't want to see is people like me showing problems or showing issues and addressing them. They don't want that to happen. For one, I get it. You're modifying their parts. And the commenter said, they die a little inside whenever they see somebody modifying their parts. But they almost like they wanted me to not be posting this stuff. So, unfortunately, I ran into these same problems 8 years ago on the Brooklyn Pony, and it's documented. I'm not making this up. I'm not pretending. I'm not faking. And the other part of that is, as I'm doing this, I think Rick Gain had commented on one of my posts that on, or maybe it was on Patreon, Motor Trend TV shows them just popping it in, bolting it down, and being done. Well, TV is like that. They will show you the end result, or they'll show you, okay, that didn't work. Let's do something and not film it until we get it right, and then film it and show it. Even like I was showing some of the bolt holes where I was having trouble getting a bolt through the hole. I understand you're going to have problems with tooling or machining or whatever, and stuff just gets a little burr and gets caught up in there. But I think in my doing that, people can see that I'm not practicing. I'm not going through the process just to show you the end result. And I feel like I'm doing everybody a service by being realistic and not, it'd be easy to just do it like TV and keep filming it until, this time it fit. There you go. Look how easy that was. It's not. And it may on other cars, maybe all that stuff bolts right on. I don't know. I just know what I'm dealing with at this point. So I did that, and I've been working on some other things. I will say that if you see behind me here, this is the Speedway Motors Coyote engine. And that's about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 panels of metal that is bolted together to simulate the Coyote engine. And you also see I have one of the header pipes hanging off of what would be the cylinder head. So the idea, of course, is to make this, do a test fit of these components prior to putting the actual engine in. Another thing I have is the mock-up transmission for a 6R80 transmission, which is what we're using, and that'll get attached to that engine skeleton, and it all goes down inside. Now, hopefully, it's a good representation of the shell of the transmission, because that's what we're going to deal with, is the fitment of the tunnel and getting that transmission down inside of that. So that's going to be the next video. Is part of it's going to be me assembling this stuff and doing some test fitting and stuff like that. There's also some other ideas we're talking about with modifying possibly underneath the car for the exhaust to have somewhere to go. Didn't really think about this when I was making the videos, but we're using the convertible floor pan to give more rigidity to the car. The bulk of that is the extra rocker panels that they put inside of the standard rocker panels. So on a coupe or fastback, you have an outer and an inner plate, and on a convertible, you have another inner piece. They also put in a heavy-duty panel across the top where the seats go, and underneath they add these boxes, which a plate bolts to, and that is intended, again, to give us some rigidity. So I talked with the owner and our message with the owner, and we said, hey, he said, maybe you can do something there. And I'm already playing with that. Like, I haven't done anything, but I've got the gears turning, because those boxes limit the space underneath the tunnel. And maybe a couple ideas that I've coming up with is to cut those out and make them round, make it a radius, so that the pipes can come out a little bit. All of this will come into play whenever we start, I start fitting the engine pieces underneath there with the headers on, so I can see what I have to work with. So anyway, that's where I'm at in the process right now. I can tell you that the weather is, again, it's wintertime, we all know. It's 42 degrees right now. We're actually going to have lows down in the low 20s over this coming week, and highs in the low 50s, maybe even 40 degrees, which is not fun, as you all know. So hope everybody's doing well. Let's see who's here tonight and see what we can talk about. And I'll get this started with first one in, TJ. Hope you're feeling better. Good evening, everyone from East Dublin, Georgia. It's been cool here in Georgia today. Always enjoy Monday Live Chat with Barry. Thumbs up, and appreciate you, Barry. Thank you, sir. And I'll also point out, today I made you know how it is. You're doing something that's not even related to what you want to do. And before I continue on, I'm going to tell you, I strained my back today, and all I was doing was trimming limbs, or trimming little trees that were trying to grow up around the house. And just doing that, I made my back very angry today. If I'd been out here in the garage, probably wouldn't have been a problem. Dave Tyson, good evening all. Evening, Dave. Glad you're here. Mr. Mikey, here mighty early, saying howdy y'all, ready to talk Mustang. Good. Thank you, Mr. Mikey. Vincent, evening everyone. Glad to see you're feeling better. Fastback is looking great. It's amazing to watch you problem solve and work your way through. Thank you, Vincent. And that is, I'm not here to pat myself on the back by any means, but I feel like that's one of my strengths, is being able to visualize and kind of create an alternative. A lot of people get stuck. Like, I'll get people that have messaged me or contacted me and said, hey, I don't know what to do here. What do I, blah, 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 right? And within a couple minutes, I can give them a different view, a different angle on what they're trying to do, and suddenly it makes sense to them. And so I feel like I'm really good at finding that side route to make the things work. So I appreciate that. Travis Holtman, top patron. Cannot wait for the show. Good evening, all. Good evening, Travis. Glad you're here. Terry Keithley, good evening, everyone. And Barry, please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you, Terry. And I hope Betty is feeling better. I know she's dealing with a lot right now, and you're dealing with a lot. So, thoughts are with you. Jiggy, evening all. It's a chilly one in Georgia tonight. But I'm going to try and get some spot welds drilled in spite of the cold. There you go. I like to hear that. Getting stuff done. Her Scrambler, getting ready for the Monday Night Football. Have to see if Rodgers has one more in him. Yes. I'll be honest. Welcome. I'll be honest. I did not expect them to win last week. I didn't. I didn't. They've gotten used to choking on, the last game, whatever. So anything at this point is possible, I guess. So let's hope everybody go Steelers. Hey, Matt Coman. Hello, everyone. Hello, sir. Glad you're here. George Crackle. Hello, all from Southeast Michigan. Barry, trust you are doing better. Yes, I am doing better. It's amazing what 11 hours of sleep will do for you. Glad you're here. Jerry, checking in from the Money Pit, Jerry's Garage. Welcome, Jerry. Glad you're here. He says good. Good evening, Barry and all. Barry and to all from Middle Tennessee. Thumbs up for Barry. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, sir. Nandu. Hi, Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing better or doing good and had a great weekend. I thank you. Welcome, Nandu. I am doing much better and had a decent weekend. Troy Jessup, greetings from a cool coastal Georgia. It was good to see the 68 on all four tires. Let's get our chat on. Yes, it was definitely good to see that. And, I really wanted that to happen in that video. So I was, putting everything together, and even then finding some flaws, let's say, in the way things are coming together, but nothing dramatic. I talked about even the brake lines, which I figured out, by the way. Had an input from Call of George, who follows me on Instagram. He sent me a picture of the brake rotor, the front brake assembly, and the 90-degree elbows that go into the brake lines. So, there was a few things like that were a little out of the ordinary. And then, as I pointed out, whenever I'm putting stuff together, yes, I try to follow the directions like everybody else, but sometimes, like, I put the bolts the wrong way through the brackets for the upper control arms. Not a big deal. Just kind of how I viewed it and how I thought it would work. It makes sense. Do it the other way. Little things like that. Pat Attic. Hi, everyone. Hope you are back to 100%. I feel like I am probably 100% health-wise. Like, I don't feel any kind of sickness or anything, but my back is. I was really hurting today. I'll be honest. I went out and I was, cleaning up around the house. I was trimming little trees, and it was nothing big. All little sticks about the size of my finger, and I'm cutting them all off and cleaning up, and just, I don't know if it was just the action of bending over and doing certain things and not, I don't know. My back was very, very angry. In fact, I ended up on the floor in the house and couldn't get up. Yay! Getting old is so much fun. Dave Conville, good evening. Evening, Dave. Welcome. Steve Reed, hello, Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing well, and please give Barry a thumbs up. Yes, thanks, Steve. Auto Dynamics says, hey, that's a new one. Welcome, Auto Dynamics. Dave Tyson Mustang flu is going around. Yeah, I don't know if they had given it a name. Auto Dynamics is asking, whose steering column will you be using? That's a great question. I don't know. We don't have a steering column yet. And I think the go-to is typically I did it. I don't know what TCI recommends. And I'm sure we won't be using the stock one because it just doesn't make sense. You're going to want a tilt column or some adjustment there. But we haven't talked about that. But that's a good question. I know in other vehicles that I've done, I've used TCI. I did it. I think was in the Brooklyn Pony. There's Flaming River. There's a few of them out there, but I have not. We have not committed to that or even really talked about it at this point. So there's still other things that need to come into play, and yes, that will be something that needs to be addressed. So those are probably the options we have right now. Simone is checking in. Hello from Asaugie, England. Hope you're all well. Welcome, Simone. It was funny. Simone. You had you had done a live a few weeks ago, and it popped up on my feed like the next day. It didn't pop up directly, and so I saw it going on, and I started commenting, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't live. So I was like, okay, I can't respond to any of this right now, but I tried. Troy just said, I want to install rear seatbelts in my 65 Fastback, but I'm unsure where to drill the holes. I was thinking putting them just below the rear seat cushion. Anyone have any thoughts? Okay, let's think about this a second. Rear seatbelts in my 65 Fastback. I think just below the rear seat cushion. If you look at, let me think here a second. Because I put seatbelts in the Brooklyn Pony, and that was a 66. And, basically, it is just right below the seat cushion. If you look at any of, you probably go look at the Jade videos. I think I show the installation of the seatbelts, putting, in the back. So that might give you some insight. But it's really not too big of a deal to get them in there. You obviously don't want them way under the seat. They've got to be up in the transition panel so that the seatbelt itself is not tucked under the seat. It's up higher to where it does what it's supposed to do across the hips. So you don't want it down underneath the seat. I can say that. Autodynamics says use rib nuts when installing the rear seatbelts. You can do that. That would be an awfully big rib nut to put back there. Typically, on the original cars, of course, they had a plate about yay big with a hole in the center of it, and that hole is about a half inch. What I've done on other vehicles is put in just a plate itself and sandwich the floor pan, two thick plates, and then just run a bolt through it. So rib nuts would work, but I'd rather have something around the structure because even with a rib nut, you're still dealing with just that much of a ring around the rib nut. So I want to see that spread that load out across a larger surface so that it adds more strength to it. I'm not saying it wouldn't pull out, but you're better off having a larger surface. It's kind of like when we race stock cars, you would use a big plate so that the load was spread out across the panel. Scott P. Pfeiffer, welcome. Appreciate you showing the good, bad, and ugly. Yeah, well, that's the way I think it should be. I don't think it's fair to anybody to just show it happening. I would rather show the problems and make it make sense to everybody. Rusty's Restoration. Hello, Barry and all. Better late than never. Thumbs up. Thank you, Rusty. Autodynamics. Why not use the foam block engine? That is a great question. There's a couple of reasons. One is cost effective. So the foam block engine, I think it's like $600, if I remember correctly, like $600. They're also on back order. So to get one from like Summit, I'd have to order it and wait 2 to 3 weeks for it to get here. And I've also been reading about them and some doing, listening to some reviews on them, and they work. They do what they're supposed to do. Oh, my back. But the problem I've seen people talk about is these plastic blocks or foam blocks. They have inserts in them where you're supposed to be able to run bolts, and you can. But they also pull them out. They pull out is what I've been reading about. So, like if you wanted to do multiple time, you use this multiple times. It may not. This one will. You can use this one over and over and over and over and over because it's not changing. Those foam ones, if you start pulling out inserts, you've got a big chunk of foam that's worthless. So I get it. It makes sense for the actual mass of the engine. But for function, form and function, bolting stuff to it, I don't trust it. So in this case, I've got the set of headers, or one header bolted on here. There's only 2 bolts holding that on, and it's going through a hole, and it has a bolt and a nut on it. So it's not going anywhere. I feel like if you were trying to do that with that foam one and trying to set it in the car or trying to bring those pieces together, you run the risk of popping out those inserts, and I don't want to do that. But that's a good question. Also, this came to like 300 and I posted it somewhere. Let me see what it was. Hold on. This was $394 after shipping and taxes. So list price is $358, shipping's $9.99, tax is $25. So just under $200 difference, and then the transmission was like $226 or something like that. I hear police or fire whistles going down the road. Hope everybody's okay out there. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from Oklahoma. Good looking mock-up rig. I believe so too. Whose headers are you using? That's a good question. I don't know if these are, I don't know what the brand is. It's probably written on them somewhere. The exhaust is MagnaFlow. And I don't know if those headers are MagnaFlow headers or not. But they have the flanges on that you put the clamp around, the bolt around clamp. So it has those flanges on the collector. So I'm not sure if those are MagnaFlow's headers or if it's some company that works with MagnaFlow. Simone says rib nuts are good. Yes, they are. Yeah, but you have to be careful where you use them. Like I would be very cautious on a safety thing, like the rib nuts work great for a lot of things, but I don't know if I trust them from a safety standpoint. Okay, so I got a heads up. The headers came as a bonus from TCI. So the owner bought the TCI kit, and they threw in the headers as part of that kit. So thanks to TCI for providing something. Steel Ponies Jeff, that's why I like watching your YouTube channel. It's true TV no matter what happens. You show us what to expect. Thank you, Barry, for doing this. By the way, go Steelers. Well, thank you, Jeff, or Steel Ponies Jeff. Yeah, and that's why I quit watching a lot of the Counts Customs, and I don't even know what's on. I really don't. I don't even watch broadcast TV, but all those shows are just fake. The way I look at it, they're not showing you the real deal. They might show you one little thing. It's like, oh, oops, we cut this hole wrong. We better start over. They're not showing you what they really have to do to make that stuff come together. So I thank you for that. Gig'em Garage, good evening, Barry from Dallas. Kevin Barth here. Welcome, sir. Rick says, was just typing my comment about Motor Trend. When you mentioned it, Stacy David made it look seamless. Yeah, and maybe it was. I don't know. Even the fact that let's just say Stacy David did it and it was it fit perfect. That's not to say that TCI didn't do a full mock-up of the entire kit at their facility before he got it and say, okay, let's make sure everything fits, because when he gets it, we can't have an issue, right? They might have done that as well. They might have actually had everything perfect before he ever got it, and he just followed suit. He said, oh, look, it fits like a glove. So, Auto Dynamics, yeah, the headers are like from TCI. So I don't know what brand they are. Annette Scott, hello everyone. Hello Annette, glad you're here. Rick Ain, were the instructions for the engine like IKEA furniture in 10 different languages? Nope. No, in fact, they were, I could show you. Everything is just in English. I really doubt that they're shipping these anywhere else besides here in the U.S. You know, I don't think they need to do all that. But that's kind of funny thing about like IKEA. It was kind of like an IKEA project, but smoother. Auto Dynamics, what PCM controller and harness are you think of using and why? We actually have the PCM computer from the engine. Came with the truck, with the truck engine. So for now, that's what's going to be used. And then overall, there's going to be an American Auto Wire wiring harness for the rest of the car. But right now, unless I think there may be some variations going on, I haven't dug into that very deeply, but I know we have the PCM and stuff from the original engine, and there may be some input on that later on after it's put together. But for now, I'm not even gonna really worry about that too much. David, Bowler Hat Guy, is the transmission skeleton dimensional accurate enough to get a drive shaft measurement? Probably not, because it's going to just be the body of the transmission. So it's not going to have the output shaft. It's not going to have the yoke or anything like that. So, and I don't think that's really too much to worry about right now. The primary reason I want to have the skeleton of the transmission is to get the tranny tunnel in the right dimensions. So that'll be the focus. So we'll get to that, later on. The drive shaft will be a secondary thing, but we'll get there. So I'll get back to the PCM. Let me give you an update on that. So I'm getting text messages from the owner. And so he says there's a new PCM from Holley with the Holley intake and injectors. So, I've gotten a lot of parts for this over the last year. Boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. And I know there was some Holley stuff and there was this and that and the other. I don't have a mental inventory of all that going on right now, because it's not my priority. So I'd seen those items, but I forgot that was part of it, My focus right now is to get all the metal work done before I get to the electronics and all that sort of thing. But I hope that answers the question that you were asking, Auto Dynamic. Let's see, where are we at? Harvey, Rally Cat Garage. Hello, Barry, from the Camaro and Mustang shop in New Jersey. Welcome, Harvey. I don't know if Jared's there watching it with you or not. Welcome to him. Gerhard, hi, Barry. Happy to see you back. Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be out here. I love being in the garage. I really do. Rick, have you considered farming out paint on Fangle to save you the impending frustration? No, not at this point. I have not. I know that, as I said, I always get frustrated with the paint process. That stresses me out. But I hate to make it this type of, how do I put it, lesson. But I learn with every paint job. Not that I want to learn and redo things, but I learn with every paint job. And so, y'all saw how the Cobra Jet turned out. And yes, I had to paint it more than once, but it looked incredible. I have to admit, I think it looked incredible. Um, so I'm okay with, I'll say I'm okay with painting. Um, Part of the situation, like with the Cobra Jet, I think may have been um, materials that I was not familiar with. So Charles had bought some materials, and I used what he brought me. And I think there's a possibility that may have messed up some of what I was doing because I'm used to doing things a certain way, and I had to kind of change direction a little bit. And I don't know if that was all part of it, but I suspect it makes more sense for me to handle um, paint materials so that I'm more comfortable with what I'm doing. So I don't see me farming it out at this point. And you know what? I'm sitting here. I'm like, I feel like I'm not sick by any means. Um, and I just remembered somebody in my neighborhood is is burning stuff like leaves or I don't know, but it's getting into the garage now, and I'm like, ugh, I'm starting to not like it. Um, okay, Michael Pagliarini, evening all, made it to the party. Welcome, Michael. Glad you're here. Simone, I'm struggling at the moment, Barry. I have damaged tendons in my right shoulder. So painful. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not a good thing. Don't do that. David Wright, good evening, all. Barry, what are your thoughts on flux core welding on body panels? I'm going to tell you flat out, don't do it. No. Flux core is not for sheet metal. Period. I don't I don't care what others have said or done. It is not for sheet metal. It's ugly. I mean, you can make nice welds. Don't get me wrong. Flux core is designed, in my opinion, for welding like eighth inch steel or thicker. Like if you're, like I could have used it on the welding the suspension parts on the the fastback. I could have cranked that thing up and just burned it in, and it would have looked beautiful. Chip off the slag, nice. It's not meant for sheet metal. Never was, never will be. And I know I've seen videos of people doing it, and I hate it because it's not what it's meant for. Get gas and use steel wire, regular wire. Don't do flux core, please. Good question. Simone says I tried flux core but found it to be rather messy. Yep, yeah, it is just not meant for that. Troy, thanks, Barry. I bought the plates to mount the seatbelts with the threaded nut welded to it. I feel safer using that since my grandkids will be back there. I want to do it correctly. Okay, yeah. And like I said, look at the videos I've done on Jade and stuff. And even if you need something else, just contact me. I know you're on Patreon. I can get you, measurements and locations on cars and stuff that I have here. So keep that in mind as well. Steve Reed on my 6x fastback is about level top of the seat cushion. So you're talking about your seatbelt mounts. That makes sense because you need it at your hip. If you go underneath the seat, now the seat can collapse with an impact, right? So you want it tight on your hip. Rich Watley, years ago, we used an old block with cracked sleeve for mock-up, no rotating assembly. I cut a crank to make a snout mock-up. Gutted some junk aluminum heads, a little heavy, worked awesome. I could see that. And I did that a little bit with the Brooklyn Pony car. I did, but I used a block. I just used a block, and I was trying to get I forget what I was working on. I had to get the transmission mount figured out. So that was part of the reason I did that. Dave Tyson says, where is the exhaust running? That is a good question, and we're working on that right now. I think the way TCI designed their system, I think, um, if it was, well, I say not TCI because let's just say you did a standard vehicle and you ran the crossover pipes down right underneath the drive shaft and out the back. With the Spider system, it eliminates all that. You can't go in, like, you can go in a tunnel, but I have a feeling that the transmission, the bulk of it, is going to take up that space. And so, one of the ideas, as I mentioned, was talking about modifying the box underneath, I'm thinking about making it like half moons to give somewhere for that pipe to go, possibly. The other alternative is to go underneath everything. Now, I know that the owner wants it to go out the back, and we're going to aim for that. We're going to try that. I actually saw a video or some pictures online where guys were taking with this TCI setup. They were running pipes and going under the axle. They actually went underneath the rear axle and then back up and out. Don't like that, and I hope we don't have to come to that. The other idea, and this isn't probably going to happen, when I got the Falcon, the exhaust that was made for that car had these oval pipes, or one oval pipe like that, like a NASCAR looking thing that ran out the side. And I was like, ooh, that would be kind of cool. Just run it right out, burning it out in front of the tires. But that'll be loud and obnoxious. And, it'd be better to have it go out the back. So we're still working on that. We're going to see what we can figure out. Auto Dynamics, these are cars with Cody motors, the master cylinder braking. A Hughes master cylinder would be using and power or manual. If I remember correctly, well, I know we're using Willwood. So it's got Willwood disc brakes on it, Willwood master cylinder. I don't think there's a booster. I don't recall seeing a booster in any of the boxes. So I know that that's a concern because the cylinder heads come way over. I know people that they've moved the mount point for the master cylinder outboard to make room. That'll all come, later. Right now, I'm going to see what I can get figured out with the engine that I have here, the mock-up. And there may be some test fitting of that moving forward. There's another guy on here, Bad Harry, I haven't seen him in a while. He did the same thing. He's got a 68 that he built, that he put the Coyote engine in. And so I've got him as a resource to help me with that. He's actually got some really neat ideas that we've already talked about. And all that will come later as we progress. Good questions, though. Thank you for that. Rich Watley, hit the thumbs up, people. It's a cover charge. Can't hang out for free. Darn it. Yep. Let's see. Rick says, given all the Cody swaps being done, you can likely resell that mock-up engine when done, unless you plan to do more projects with it. Yes, and that was another thing I was thinking about. We'll consider that, like if there is another project that I'm going to do this with, obviously it would be beneficial to have that, but it's not a priority. Or if somebody else wants it, maybe I'll make a deal with them or something like that. But we'll figure that out later. But it is probably beneficial to hang on to it. Auto Dynamics stock PCM mounts in the engine bay. Yes, except when it doesn't. That was one of the things that I talked about with Bad Harry. He actually put it inside the firewall, up at the back. So he made a cutout and put the PCM inside of the firewall. But that'll come, later on. Like I said, that's all in the process of doing this. Auto Dynamics, I build my cars at home. Above it misspelled that. What? spelled that to joke. Okay. I can't keep up with it. I don't know. I miss what you're saying there. So, Rick Aim, will Fan would have an OBD port under the dash? Probably, possibly. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there. Vincent, could the fitment or rather lack of it be attributed to Dynacorn and not stock original sheet metal? That's a lot of it. I will say that is a lot of it. Is Dynacorn has variables, and you know there's not much you can do at that point, other than if and I really didn't want to go down this road. Because it's so convenient to buy the pre-built floor pan and everything in it. It is. It just really makes it simple. The other option would have been to buy all the individual components and piece it together one at a time and try to mimic what Ford did and get the dimensions right. Like the width of the floor supports, how far apart they are, those sort of things. All of these, as far as those alignments, were good. It's the thickness of the metal or, little variables like that. It may very well have fit perfectly underneath an original car. I showed that with that one channel piece. I set it on a frame rail and it slid right over it. Dynacorn makes their frame rails a little bit wider, a little bit thicker. Maybe it's some sort of loophole that they use to get around some sort of trademark or something. I don't know. But I think that's a lot of it. David, what are your thoughts on matching paint bumpers? I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. If you go back and look at, let me see if it was, I think the Ring Brothers car, the Mach 1 they did, I think they had blacked out or match, color match black the bumpers on that car. So I'm not against that. And there may be some value in, depending on how we're moving forward on that process. Like, I wouldn't mind if it works out, customizing the rear bumper a little bit, tucking it in, making it fit better, because these things always stick out and they always look a little bit awkward. And if painting is an option, then that can be taken a few steps further. Like, I saw some pictures the other day of a guy working on a 69 Mustang, and he had welded the bolts or brackets onto the bumper so that it could bolt to the car, and it was smooth. That might be an option. I don't mind bolts sticking out. Doesn't really make much difference. But almost like if you're going to do paint, just make it slick. Don't bother having bolts and stuff sticking out, because then you got to think about the paint and the movement of the bolt and the chipping of the paint, all that sort of thing. But that's not a bad idea, and it may happen. It may happen. That's something to consider. Something to consider. Good question. Gerhard, I recently took the jump to gas and steel wire. It is a pleasure to weld now, not going back. Yes, I'm telling you, FluxCore is not. I mean, it's a great product. It's great. FluxCore has its purposes, and I think a lot of it actually has to do with, let's say you're a farmer, and you've got a gate that broke, right? For simplicity, you take your welder with a FluxCore, get a power source, and you can fix that thing. You can be out in the field and fix it. Be done with it. You don't have to have gas. You don't have to have all the secondary stuff. And on heavier materials, like I said, it works great. Not good for sheet metal. Not good. Rick says, was considering the MIG conversion for my Lincoln Flux welder, but after your videos considering a new machine entirely. I'm not a good welder though, so maybe nothing. Um, so let's see, maybe nothing helps enough for me. Well, yeah, and it's the flux cores. I don't know. It's also like, how do I put it? When you're welding, like you're looking through your shade, um, your filter, and flux core just feels like it's all a bubbly mess. It really does. It just feels like it's just kind of like when you do stick welding. It's just stuff flying all over, and gases and all that sort of thing. Um, so when you use the MIG with the argon, it's just a lot cleaner, and I feel like you can see the welds a lot better. So. Simone, good to see you back, Barry. I'm heading to sleep now. Good night, all. Good night, Simone. Robert checking in. Evening, all. Sorry I'm late. Had guys looking at the shop. Oh, well, I'm glad you're here, Robert. Rick says, why doesn't Fangle's owner join the stream, or does he prefer to remain anonymous? He's on the stream. He is on the stream, and he could join in if he wants to. I mean, I'm not against that. I was just trying to make I don't want anybody to be brought into something unless they want to be part of it, be recognized in that aspect. So, but he's here. He is viewing the stream, and so yeah. Gerhard, have you seen Peterson Restoration in his latest video? He's working on a 60 Mustang with a Coyote engine. I've seen his stuff, but I have not specifically looked at that. So maybe I'll check it out. Otto, YouTube removed some of my questions. Yeah, sorry about that. It could be, depending on how you've asked the question or what words you used. Sometimes it'll be deleted, and sometimes it might be one of my monitors. I have people that help me out and keep track of stuff, because we have had people jump in here and try to take over the live stream, or mess it up for everybody. So there may be some stuff going on. Travis, what about slimming down the drive shaft hoop in the tunnel? I've thought about that too. And that's something I will consider. But I have to also think about the geometry of the drive shaft, consider what movement is there, which shouldn't be much at all, right? Because in that short distance, you're only going to have minimal movement of that drive shaft. But it is something to consider. And I don't know ultimately if it's going to matter, because if the bulk of that transmission takes up all that space all the way to the spider, it doesn't matter. It really won't matter. So that is something to look at, though. Auto, I guess because I use a reference gram auto reference. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. Social media, and it removes conversation. That could be it. Auto, are you using Dakota Digital again and Vintage Air? Will you have a breakdown of the vendors you use on this build? That's a great question. I'm sure we probably will be using something, like Dakota Digital, and assuming, I think we do have a Vintage. Wait a minute, I'm gonna think here. I think there is a Vintage Air kit already. Yeah, I think there's a Vintage Air kit here. So. But we haven't really talked about the gauges yet. I don't think. But Dakota Digital is probably the option we're going to go with. Something, along those lines. And I'm pretty sure there's already a Vintage Air kit here. Again, I have piles of boxes and stuff that are sitting in the back, and I don't normally jump onto that phase of it until later. Whenever I get to that stage. So I understand where you're coming from, but it's my mental state right now is sheet metal fabrication. Getting all this stuff to fit up front here, but that is something that will need to be considered. So yeah. So yes, Vintage Air is here, and the owner has actually messaged me and said yes, Dakota Digital. So there we go. That answers your question. Rick Gain, check PayPal, didn't want to give YouTube a cut. I saw that, Rick, and I thank you for that. I really do. And you're right. YouTube takes half of, or well, 30. I think it's on here. It takes 30% of whatever somebody donates. So yes, thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Some extra bell for you. Dave Tyson says flux core in wind. Yes. Like I was saying, if you're a farmer out on a field somewhere working on your tractor, flux core in the wind, yes, or stick water. Robert says flux core feels like you're welding underwater. Yeah, it does have a weird kind of sensation to it, and it's there's like I said, there's gases and bubbles. It's just kind of just different. Otto says, I see the old Delta logo on your wall. I work at Delta maintenance as well as GSE. Yeah, I worked for Delta for 30 years. I took the early retirement back in 2020. I was a sheet metal mechanic out there. I worked in 241, 381 engine sheet metal, Department 310, K-Shop, where I was a sheet metal guy. I was an inspector for 6 years. And then I worked in Department 402 and operated vacuum furnaces. So I did that for about 10 years before I left. So yeah, I've been around all that stuff out at Delta. Enjoyed my time there. Take advantage of it. I don't know how long you've been there. Plan for your tomorrow. Plan for your future. Everybody out there, not just this guy, but everybody out there, plan for your tomorrow. You got to be prepared for that day when you say, I don't want to work anymore. Rich says flux core penetrates deeper than solid wire at the same settings. Its purpose is penetration and the ability to weld in somewhat windy environments. Yes. Oh, I agree. It has its purpose. It definitely does. But sheet metal doing body work is not one of them. Travis, wow, I didn't know YouTube took that much. No more large super stickers. Yeah, that's the thing, and I think it's 30% that they take from super stickers, and whatever actual revenue I generate on YouTube, they take half of it. And that's why I don't like YouTube. I don't like YouTube. They don't promote me enough, and they take half of what I actually make. So, and then I have to pay taxes on that, not on my half. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not necessarily the win-win that we feel like it should be. Annette says, what's the best coilover for a smooth ride daily driver? And is there a budget-friendly suspension for a classic Mustang? I'm going to suggest there's a few options out there for the coilover setup. I can't think of the company at the moment, but there is one out there that I'm trying to picture how I've seen it. I can picture it in my head. It's a coilover that takes the place of it attaches to the shock tower. And it's a coilover. I can't think of the company. But it's a basic system that just is like a replacement. Like there's no modifications. I think you keep your lower control arm and you put the coilover shock in place. Um, and I see Travis says CSP, and I'm not sure if that's the answer I'm looking for. Like the Falcon, um, the Falcon came with a CPP suspension under it. Not that expensive. It is uh, a plate that bolts to the bottom of the car, and the lower control arm goes in place. Um, and I don't think it's CSP. I think it's CPP is the name of the company. Because yeah, Robert has that same setup, but I think it's CPP. I think. I don't know what the other company is. I've seen them though, and it's a coilover, like almost like a strut. You know, you have a strut in a modern car. That's kind of what this mimics, and I can't think of who that company is. Robert says, for your information, Jerry is in Honolulu without me. Well, that's nice of her. Annette says, Travis saying, Annette, I really like what Mustangs, the Fear offers. So far, the front subframe is fitting 98% great. Okay. I'm not sure if that's in the budget friendly, type of thing. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what the numbers are for budget friendly. Because you can easily have 10 grand in a suspension system overall. The CPP setup, I think, is like $900, I think. But I don't know if that includes the shock. So the other thing is like I said, like a strut looking thing. Let's see. Robert says there's an Australian made one that is like you're describing that is very good. Yeah, I don't know what that company is, but it's like a strut, and I think that's probably the more road friendly setup. Autodynamic, I'm building a 68 also, and at a similar point in my build, plus my bodywork is done. I'm at the point of choosing what parts at this stage. You have to have forward thinking and build ahead. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Travis says CSP. No, it was CPP. Auto, are you going to be using a power steering pump? And who's front runner? Or are you going to be using something else to control the rack? That's a good question. Haven't gone that far yet. I have to look at everything that's in these boxes and see what's there. But that is something that will be addressed. Again, I default back to, and not to brush you off by any means, I default back to what I'm doing at the moment, which is still sheet metal and fabrication. Yes, I want to plan ahead for all those things, but I'm still, going through those steps before I can commit to, hydraulic stuff and electrical stuff, all those other parameters that I haven't gotten that far into yet. Travis says, oh yeah, CPP. And Travis, Total Control Products. Well, Total Control, I don't know. I'm not sure what they make. And I got a message here from the owner, says power steering pump came with the Vintage Air kit. So we have that addressed. Again, that's all going to come as we move further down the line. Travis says Total Control Products, ? And not budget friendly. No, not budget friendly. Rich Wiley, the best riding and handling coilovers system are SOT and TCP. It locates the shock and coil to the lower arm. For more budget, look to CPP or Alden, but they won't ride as nice. Okay. And Robert says AJE makes the strut thing for $1,000. So AJE sounds like the one I was trying to find. Michael, CPP has a mini subframe. I'm using the Viking coilovers. Not cheap, but not super expensive. Okay, thank you, Michael. Annette says thank you. And Muscle 65 car, street or track is 1. So there's another one. Thank you for that. Glad you're here. I'm glad you're giving us some information. Robert, the Viking coilovers I have are adjustable, and if you don't like the valving, it can be changed as well. Okay. Good to know. Jeff Reynolds. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's a. How long has it been, Jeff? How long has it been? It says, Barry, Happy New Year to you, your family, and followers here. Sorry to be joining so late. What has the earlier comment about the good, the bad? What was the earlier comment about the good, the bad, the ugly? That was talking about the TCI suspension setup and showing all the good and the bad and the ugly parts of the install. Man, I can't think when you've been here last, Jeff. I'm glad you're here though. Let me give you a bell. I'll even get some coffee. I forgot that I had coffee here. Always got to have my coffee. So, glad you're here, Jeff. Really am. Otto, appreciate feedback and any info. You have been great. Well, you're welcome. And I appreciate you asking the questions. And it's hard for me to just, like you're saying, you want to build down, build ahead type of things. And I'm doing that. That's like whenever I put the car together and before I put the roll bar in, I test fitted the Mustangs to Fear headliner. Wanted to make sure that would fit before the roll bar was put in or as the roll bar was being put in the car. Things like that. I didn't put in the crossbar yet behind the seats or where the seat's going to be because I need access to that area. And so I'm not going to put that bar in until I'm ready for that. And the seats are something else we're going to have to talk about at some point and consider, what's going to end up in the car. So there's still steps in the process. And, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I just have to narrow down, get my focus on what I'm building at the moment, but also thinking ahead. That's why I was test fitting the exhaust. I'm like, I have the car in the air. I have all the suspension in place. Let's see if this is going to work. So I appreciate where you're coming from. Rich Wiley, the benefit of running SOT or TCP coilover systems is the upper arm is replaced with a tubular design that allows much more aggressive caster and camber settings. Huge difference in handling. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Otto says he would love to talk with the owner. We might be able to arrange that. Maybe. I don't know. Robert, I've been looking at seats as well. Most are still too tall for the car. Yeah, I was looking the other day, and I'm on the budget friendly side of things for the Falcon build. So the Falcon is going to be a different car. Like, I kind of want to do maybe do the autocross stuff with it, and I'm thinking about getting some seats that have some bolsters and different things like that. So I was looking at Amazon just to see what's out there, and they have a variety of racing seats out there. They also have harnesses, 4-point harnesses, and different things like that. Now, obviously, it's not the top of the line stuff. And as far as the seat goes, I'm not too worried about that for what I'm doing, because the Falcon is not going to be a fancy painted up. It's going to look decent. But I also know that the seats they're going to serve their purpose in helping keep you in the car. But I don't want to go out and spend $1,000 on a pair of seats. I just can't do that. There's also options out there like TMI. They have some fantastic interior kits. So that may be something that comes into play later on. But there's also, Jags and Summit they have their own stuff. And I've been, the Summit store's down the road from me, 20 miles, and you can go in there and you can sit on those seats, which is nice. Gives you an idea what you're, getting into. So there's still things like that we have to consider. Annette, anyone have any experience with TMI made to fit headliners? I just talked about that. I did a video of the test fit of the maybe it was TMI. I think it was TMI. Now that I think about it, yes, it wasn't Mustang Zafir. It was TMI. I feel like it was TMI. But I did a video on that, and when I was putting in the roll bar, and I put that up in place, really like it. I really do like it. Maybe I'll be using one of those in a future Mustang build of my own, but I do like the setup. Gives you more headroom too. Otto, I don't know if I mentioned this, but the platforms for the seats, are you using the stock ones or the later ones from, I believe, 69 and above that are 1 inch lower? The stock ones, because the floor pan is technically a convertible floor pan. So it has a built-in one-piece deal that goes all the way across the tunnel. So don't plan to change that. And I don't think we need to. I know I'm about the same height as the owner of the car, so I can use myself as a reference for that. But I don't see any reason to put in the lowered platforms. And he says, I'm going to be running Recaros, and I was going to use Procar, the ones you mostly see. Yeah. Like I said, there's a bunch of options out there. Robert, I'm looking at those same generic seats for 260 or so at worst. They could be temporary until something better comes along, then make desk chairs out of them. Yeah. Yeah, they have some on there they're really cool looking seats. In fact, some of them have like the diamond tuck look to them and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards for the Falcon project. Like I said, I don't need $1,000 pair of seats in that car. Otto, I have a mint set of FlowFit seats as well that I'm not going to be using. Guess we'll have to look those up. I'm not familiar with FlowFit. So, and Otto, I guess, are you in the Atlanta area? Somewhere around the Atlanta area? That's where I'm at, around the Atlanta area. Who knows? Maybe I could come over and look at your project if you're in this area. You're real helpful. Thank you. I try to be. Travis says, Barry, I'm looking for seats as well. Let me know what you find. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I say they're generic seats that are on Amazon, and they are. They're not, they're not super duper expensive. Like, I think they're, like Robert was saying, $250, and that's with shipping. $250, $260, something like that. Let's see. Cold Sweep. Better late than never. Glad you're here, sir. Auto Dynamic New York. Oh, yeah. Not going to be able to make it there. Sorry. Terry Keithley, Aladdin used to make coilovers for street rods. Okay. I'm not familiar with that brand. Thank you for that, Terry. Let's see. Jeff Reynolds, Barry, it's good to be back. I guess it was too much to hope that I'd happened in on the film night I've been looking forward to. Sorry, Jeff. We don't have film night tonight. I don't know when that's going to be, when the next one will be. Other Dynamics, I tagged you in on Insta, but it removes it. That's interesting. I don't know why it would do that. Do you follow me on Insta? Because I've been posting a lot on Instagram. Probably already seen that. So I don't know I don't know why it wouldn't let you tag me. What's your Instagram? Is it Auto Dynamics? So I'll take a look at it. I don't know why. I don't know why it would remove it. I don't know. Let me know what your Insta is, or message me on. You can message me on Instagram too, if you want to. Then we'll figure it out from there. Robert, there are seats from newer cars I like, but to get a pair in good shape is very pricey. Yeah. Yeah. Auto removes it here. The tag says yes, but here it removes if I add that symbol. Oh, you're talking about here? You're trying to tag me um, on the live stream? So you're 68 Eleanor Word? Is that what we're saying? I don't know. Send me a message or a message request on the live on my Instagram, and maybe we can figure something out. Okay, it's been an hour and 12 minutes, and that's long enough, I think. And I have to prepare for the Steelers game tonight, so everybody has to focus on the Steelers and try to get get ready for the game and focus on them winning. 68 Eleanor, one word. Okay, and he'll message me. Okay. Yeah, so things are coming along pretty well with the project. I'm trying to do, like I said, show people everything that I can with what's going on with parts and pieces and what I do to modify things or fix things. And, it helps everybody. I think it helps everybody. Whether the companies like it or not, it helps everybody. So that'll be it for tonight. I'll be back next Monday. Oh, let me give you a highlight. What is it? February 11th, 12th, 13th. I will be out in San Diego. So if anybody's in that area out in San Diego, let me know. Who knows? Maybe I can meet you out there. It'd be kind of fun to meet somebody who's following me on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. That would be kind of cool. So I'll mention that again next week. But I hope everybody has a good week and hope you get stuff done on your project. So that'll be it for tonight. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See you.